Naruto and Hinata's romance could be much better. Don't get me wrong, I think they make a fine couple, but the way Kishimoto went about developing their relationship left a lot to be desired, especially in Shippuden. Sure, Naruto is a shonen series, so romance is not, and it should not, be the focus. If you want to watch a romance anime, go watch Kaguya-sama or My Dress-Up Darling. But just because romance is not the focus of your story, it doesn't mean it should be underdeveloped. Because if you compare Naruto with other shonen series, it actually has a surprising amount of romance in it. It's established very early on in chapter 3 that Naruto has a crush on Sakura and that Sakura has a crush on Sasuke. The amount of things that happen during the story and decisions the characters take because of these crushes is surprisingly high. So yeah, romance is a pretty big deal in Naruto. And that's the thing, the setup for the romance in the series, including NaruHina, is pretty good. There's nothing wrong with the shy girl, clueless guy trope, and for part 1 of the series, it works pretty well. Things just start to get worse for NaruHina after the time skip. We still get some fine and funny scenes when Hinata passes out after seeing Naruto for the first time when he comes back, but the main problem I see with the relationship is that Naruto and Hinata don't spend much time together at all. They see each other very rarely, and the only time they went on a mission together was during the Itachi capturing mission, and they don't even interact that much in that. This problem is also aggravated by the fact that Naruto still hasn't gotten over his crush for Sakura, so essentially the development of Naruto and Hinata's romance is practically inexistent up until the Pain arc. And that's where things really change for Naruto and Hinata, when she jumps in the middle of the fight against Pain and confesses her love for Naruto while practically dying in the process. That's just an amazing scene and very emotional and impactful. You would expect that after Hinata did that, their relationship would progress a lot, except it doesn't. It's baffling that after Hinata sacrifices herself trying to save Naruto, nothing happens afterwards. Naruto doesn't talk to her about it. Maybe he was too shy to do that. But no, that's not even the case. He doesn't even acknowledge what happened, even in his thoughts. Sure, he is a clueless guy, but Hinata blatantly told him she loved him. The only possible explanation is that Naruto doesn't remember it because as the Kyuubi took over, he may have lost his memories from the events that happened just prior to the Kyuubi's awakening. But that's just not the case either, because Naruto clearly remembers Hinata getting stabbed by Pain. Why wouldn't you use that to enhance your story? Why would you lose that chance to develop the romance through this very powerful scene? Regardless, after that went by, Naruto destroys Sakura by completely denying her fake love confession, and you would think that after this point, Naruto would finally get over his crush for Sakura. But you would be wrong. Naruto and Hinata barely see each other up until the end of the war arc, where they share their second best moment in the entire series, only behind Hinata's love confession. That moment was when Hinata woke Naruto up after Neiji's death, giving him the strength to continue, and you would think, now that's it. Now the romance is going forward. But no. A few chapters later, when Minato arrives in the battlefield, Naruto starts simping for Sakura again. It's like Kishimoto purposely destroys every romantic development for Naruto a few chapters after he starts something good. And that's it. That's everything related to Naruto and Hinata's romance. So essentially, it's not developed at all in Naruto. We just see it that in the very last chapter they got married and had kids, but we don't see them getting to that point at all, and it's very disappointing. If you actually want to see them getting together, you have to watch a movie, Naruto the Last, which is not very good. That's just a very stupid way to tell a story, if you ask me. Of course, there is the money involved in making a movie about the protagonist's love story, but it's not a good way to tell a story. Why do I have to watch a movie to understand how the main character got together with his wife? I shouldn't have to do that. This needed to be told in the actual manga with a decent development along many chapters. And if you think about it, the romance had no decent conclusion in the manga at all. Sasuke and Sakura had a much better conclusion for the romance, and I think their relationship is overall much worse than Naruto and Hinata's. So essentially, they don't develop the romance in the middle of the manga, and then they make you watch a movie to see what happened. But, well, I digress. Let's not just complain about things here. Let's offer some suggestions. Let's try to see if a few changes in the manga would make the narrative between Naruto and Hinata's romance more interesting. Before that, however, make sure you're subscribed to this channel for more content like this in the future, and like this video as well to help me out with some exposure. Okay, so for this rewrite, everything in part 1 relating to Naruto and Hinata's relationship would remain the same with one exception. In that scene when Sasuke wakes up from being taken down by Itachi's Tsukiyomi and then he sees Sakura and Sakura hugs him, that should be the moment when Naruto lets go of his crush for Sakura. It's the perfect moment for him to understand that those two are meant for each other and that him liking Sakura is just a passing thing from his childhood. Also, Kishimoto confirmed that the reason Naruto liked Sakura was because of his rivalry with Sasuke. So essentially, it's because Sakura liked Sasuke, and that's why Naruto wanted to end up with Sakura to one-up Sasuke and beat him. But once Naruto sees that touching scene between the two of them, his romantic feelings for Sakura should be just gone. Moving on to Shippuden, Naruto will obviously stop simping for Sakura every chance he gets, and they will be just very good friends, almost in a brother-sister relationship, which I think fits them much better than uncorresponded love. But of course, Naruto will have to start developing feelings for Hinata in some way because we want to develop their romance instead of, not showing anything at all in the entire series and leaving it up to a movie. And I would say that starting that spark of romance in Naruto's heart would be extremely easy to do. So when Naruto comes back to Konoha and sees Hinata for the first time, he realizes she developed a massive chest over the time skip, and that awakens something in him. After all, we also know Naruto is a pervert, and he would definitely notice that. When he sees it, he stops thinking of Hinata as just a shy girl who is just around, and now she is the hot, shy girl who is around, and he will definitely actively try to get close to her because, boobs. Now we have to make sure Naruto and Hinata interact more during Shippuden and that they have more scenes together. And I have an easy fix for that. First, we delete Sai from the series. Seriously, he is an absolute useless character that had literally zero development after the arc he was introduced in, and he contributed nothing at all for the story. So instead of Sai, Hinata is going with Team Yamato in their mission to Tenchi Bridge. We are removing Sai, which takes away the mystery from that arc, but including Hinata, we actually increase character development when we progress their romance. Hinata is also a much more relevant character to the story and a more interesting character as well, so I think this is a positive trade-off. Also, make Yamato a more sarcastic character, make him the foil to Naruto in this arc instead of Sai, provoking him and antagonizing him like Sai did before, because I really like those comedy beats, and they worked very well, especially the joke about Naruto's micro-penis. With Hinata on the mission, we can see Naruto trying to get closer to her. Of course, Hinata will be very shy still, but she would like that, and this could be the first time they actually have a friendly, lengthy conversation, because most of the times they spoke before, well, it was very brief and Hinata barely said anything, so this time we could see more of her personality. Naruto could now start seeing that Hinata is quite a nice person and develop feelings not only for her physical appearance, but for her personality as well. They could throw in the joke that Hinata is the gluten queen, like in Boruto, and she's eating a lot, and she realizes she is eating a lot in front of Naruto. She then obviously gets embarrassed, but Naruto just cheers her on and laughs it off. Sakura also notices Naruto trying to get closer to Hinata, and she could tease Naruto about it. Oh, do you like Hinata? Blah blah blah, and Naruto would just deny it. All these beats would be perfect to do in that thermal water resort when they stop by while they're traveling to the bridge. Speaking of which, instead of trying to peep on Sakura in that resort, Naruto's intention would be to peep on Hinata, but but Yamato's comment about Tsunade almost killing Jiraiya when he tried that on her would deter him regardless. Of course, during this travel time, you could include many other small cute scenes and beats between Hinata and Naruto, and I'm sure you can think of several good ones, so comment them down below. When they arrive at the bridge and Naruto goes Four Tails berserk mode, we could say that Hinata and Sakura were engaged in a fight against Kabuto. Let's retcon that a little bit. And when Orochimaru throws Naruto close to them, Hinata is the one to run towards the Four Tails instead of Sakura, and she's the one to get hurt, passing out. Kabuto, being the little prick he is, sees a perfect opportunity to capture an ideal Hyuga specimen that Orochimaru could use for his experiments and takes Hinata away from the group. Yes, I'm going with the damsel in distress trope. It's old-fashioned, but not obsolete. Team Yamato would then be able to track Hinata and rescue her, because Yamato would still put his tracking seed on everyone's food, and things would develop similarly to how they did in the original regarding Sasuke, because Sai did absolutely nothing useful in that encounter anyway. After the danger is over, Naruto sincerely apologizes for hurting Hinata in his tail beast form, and then you can add this cute little moment where for the first time Hinata is not extremely shy, and then she says something like this to Naruto: "I would do anything to protect you, Naruto-kun, like you protected me before." And this is an allusion to the flashback we'll get to see when Hinata is facing pain, and also serves as foreshadowing for that very same confrontation. After that, it would be good to include a small scene where Hinata is just looking at Naruto practicing his Rasen Shuriken, cheering him on, and maybe one of the clones spots her and she runs away, and then that clone disappears, being, just dispelled by Naruto himself, and we cut back to the real Naruto smiling to himself because Hinata was watching, and you can see Naruto is blushing a little. These small scenes can do a lot to develop a romance. Naruto and Hinata then go to the mission with the intent to capture Itachi, and you can definitely add more scenes between the two here. And when they come back to Konoha, Naruto learns about Jiraiya's death, and yeah, definitely include a scene here of Hinata hugging him and, just comforting him or something. And then we get to the pain arc, and frankly, the scene when Hinata confesses her love is perfect, so no need to change that one. What has to change is Naruto's reaction after everything has settled down. There has to be a moment when Naruto realizes what happened and just blushes like he never did before. He then goes to talk to Hinata, and it's a very awkward conversation. Naruto obviously thanks her for what she did, and he is about to ask her out. Naruto then is interrupted, and he learns that the Cloud Ninjas that arrived to the village have some very bad news about Sasuke, and he can't finish the conversation properly with Hinata, so he never asks her out. The two would only meet again in the middle of the war, but definitely include that scene where Neji dies and Hinata wakes Naruto out of his stupor. You could just give Neji a better death than being killed by a stick. But anyway, after the war ends, give the characters more time to resolve everything, including the NaruHina situation. Include a scene that mirrors the time when Naruto was about to ask Hinata out, but this time he isn't interrupted. You can also include that funny beat that was in a light novel, I think, where Naruto invited her to a fancy restaurant, and that could be their first date, so it would work perfectly for the scene. Hinata uses her Byakugan and sees that Naruto's wallet is empty, so she suggests they don't go to a fancy restaurant and they go to Ichiraku instead, which is much more thematically pleasing, and it works wonders for Hinata's character as well. They go to Ichiraku, and after their first date, you have to include a kiss scene. This is the type of romance story that requires one to finish with a satisfying conclusion. Sasuke and Sakura's romance finished without a kiss, but it finished with Sasuke touching her forehead, which is much more poetic and thematically sound than a kiss, so it was a much better move for their story. But in Naruto's case, then you have to include a kiss instead of showing it in the movie. A kiss would definitely finish the relationship very well. Do you think this would have been more satisfying to the story? Is there anything you would have done differently? Let me know in the comments. Also, like this video and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you for watching.